Lesson number 4. You are going to need to take breaks. Whether it's brand new or you've been at this for a while and started to get good at it, you have to have breaks. You can't just constantly be around a person that's triggered and emotional and weird and saying this and the other. It doesn't even make sense. And expect yourself to react like in a healthy way when you're like tired and when you like need you time and when you're not fed and fueled properly. So you need to have breaks, you need to have proper sleep. And a lot of times with these personality disordered people or, traumatized people, this whole personality disorder thing, I don't know, it's just like basically traumatized people, right? Like you're messed up because of whatever happened in your life, young and old, whatever, that traumatized you. So now you have these things that are difficult to deal with. A lot of these people have insomnia and a lot of paranoia and fear, etc. And they have a hard time sleeping. And if you sleep in the same room as them, then you're going to have your sleep interrupted. And that means that you're going to have to take advantage of sleeping when this person is not around during the day, perhaps when they're at work. I mean, how they're able to survive on zero sleep, I have no idea, because they'll have their sleep interrupted all night and then they'll go work all day. It's like complete insanity. But them is on them. You can't make them not be paranoid insomniacs, but you can make sure that you get the sufficient sleep that you need when you can get it. For example, you treat them in the situation very similarly, dealing with living with them very similarly as you would if you had a newborn baby or a child. What you need to do as a mommy with a newborn baby is sleep when they sleep, period. Very strictly and stubbornly. Sleep when they sleep, period. Because otherwise you're going to not have a fun time being a mommy. So with your traumatized personality disordered person, you need to sleep when they sleep, and you need to take naps when it's available to you when they're at work and or otherwise distracted. You need to fuel yourself with food items that actually build and fuel your nervous system and your brain. And now I'm going to lose a lot of people, because what fuels and feeds our brain are foods that most people are being told are not healthy. So you look into it, but you pay attention to what really fuels and builds you best, meaning you're calm, collected, stable. It sustains you for long periods of time. You cannot be getting hangry. You cannot be getting hangry. You have to be the stable, secure one, because they cannot. So if you're over there getting hangry, you're the freaking personality disordered person yourself too. Good luck. You know, like you can't be having outbursts at your personality disorder traumatized person. 2. No, you have to be the compromiser, the one in control, the one never ever losing your shit. Like you're not allowed to be the one to lose your shit, period, ever. So you cannot be tired, you cannot be hangry, you cannot be otherwise dissatisfied because you're not getting your needs met. You're not going to get your needs met from them. You're not going to get your needs met from them nearly and hardly ever. Okay? You're not. You have to fill your own cup. You have to fill your own cup when you're dealing with a personality disordered person. You have to fill your own cup when you're dealing with any disabled person that you're the caregiver of, and they're kind of like a disabled person that you're caregiving of. Okay? It's all about them. It's never about you. And if you're going to hang out with them, then you better shut up and be okay with that, period, because otherwise it's not fair. It's not nice. So, you're going to fill your own cup. You're going to satisfy your own needs. You're not going to sit there and have tantrums about how they're not satisfying your needs, period, ever, not even one time mentioning it. When they have a hug to give and a kiss to give, oh, you melt that shit? That's so freaking good. And then when it's not there, go, I can't wait till it's there because that shit's gonna be so good. But when it's not there, I'm totally satisfied and happy, doing my own thing. Okay? What other things would be a part of this topic? I think that's basically it. Like, if you need to physically remove yourself from your house for days and nights at a time to be able to fill your own cup back up, then do it. And they are going to most likely throw tantrums and talk trash about you to others and do all variety of things to try to stop you from going and doing you, which means you're just sleeping. They might even or highly likely will be like, you're, sleeping with other people, da-da-da. So you have to not, get all emotional and mental and buying into their whatever, right? You just reassure them that, no, honey, baby, I love you. I'm going to go sleep for a few days in the forest or wherever you want to go. I used to get a hotel room when I could afford it and just sleep because I couldn't sleep in my house. I couldn't. My little kids would stab at the door. But if you can't afford that, and you go sleep in your car at wherever, you can peacefully park it and nobody will bother you. Usually that's nature. That's what I discovered. Not at the Border Patrol State Park in California. The Border Patrol will tell you to move. Even though it has 0 signs saying you can't sleep there, and it is a national park. You're supposed to be able to stay there for free. But there's been very few people. That's, I think, the only place I've been kicked out of. All other places, nobody bothered me, and it was great. Great and peaceful. So anyways, You have to have you time alone where you don't have to caregive for others. Oh yeah, there's Airbnbs nowadays too. That might be iffy because there's other people involved, and if you're a caregiver, you might be like, oh, trying to appease the Airbnb people or something. Don't do that. Like, when you're taking you time, it's literally all about you, filling your own cup, doing you your way, so that you can come back fully refreshed and on point to be able to be at your best, to caregive for your beautiful, wonderful, personality disordered or otherwise disordered loved one. That is vital. If you don't do that, you're fucked. You're fucked. Like, you're not going to be able to joyfully, happily, thrivingly be with this personality disordered person if you're exhausted, if you don't have your own cup filled, etc. Other things I personally like to do is go on hikes by myself. Oh, this is interesting. This van is covered in blankets. I love to go on hikes, go to lakes, swim in them, go to hot springs, soak in them, go on camp trips, road trips for maybe if I can only go for a few days, if I can go for 2 weeks, if I can go for a couple of months once in a while, hot dang, I should hit the spot, because you even get to the point where you're missing a person and missing your house, right? So if you're blessed enough to have a situation where that's a thing you can pull off, boom, and a thing you're into, right? Because not everybody's into that. That's kind of almost overkill for me at this point, but there was a time that I was so burned out, so exhausted, so like completely fried and you're dead, that really, really like was the first time I could feel like a human, was when I did that. I actually went to Mexico to get the keys of and take over my darling bed and breakfast. The sad ending in a way, kind of, I don't know. But I was there for I don't know if I was there for an entire month, but it was like 20 days, maybe a month. And I was like 4 months pregnant or something at that point. Just barely discovered I even was pregnant. I was exhausted because of just not dealing with my personality disordered situation well at all. And for years at that point, I'd gotten little bits of sleep here and there, but then I'd have to come home and deal with so much work and stuff that it wasn't ever quite doing it for me to like get me back on point. And so that time I decided to go and be there for that amount of time because I wanted to acclimate myself really well to that area, because I wanted to take my children there and I wanted to make sure I was fully comfortable with the area so that when I took them it was just a lot of fun and great stuff, instead of like me being worried and nervous. I didn't want them to pick up on that vibe. And so I didn't end up actually being able to take my children, which added more to the nightmare and craziness, because mentally ill people, right, that I had to deal with. But thank God I did that, actually, because then I was able to have mental clarity and knowing. So when flying monkeys were coming at me, they were like the lunatic monkeys, right? When they were coming at me with a vengeance, I was able to keep like super cool and calm. It was like the most horrible, vicious smear campaign that was set up against me because if it doesn't even make any sense other than just like vindictiveness and jealousy, that use the most precious things to me against me, it would have landed anyone. The most sane person would have ended up in a mental institution or very ill in a hospital. But because I had already been learning a lot of stuff and realized a lot of stuff, and then because I had taken that time, then I was able to, even though I was pregnant and being physically and verbally assaulted by the most precious things to me, I was able to not lose my mind. I was able to actually thrive through it pretty dang well. Like, I can't say, I feel like I could have done better, because man, a Master Pro Zen Master, that shit would have been like no big deal. But I pretty dang near did that, and that was like, hot dang, I shouldn't have been able to do that. The person I was even a year prior would not have done that well. That's a lie. I had done a very similar thing just a year before. But let's say the person I was 2 years prior. So we don't know what's going to come at us in life. And it's never a good idea to burn ourselves out and tap ourselves out. We have to always, on a regular basis, take every opportunity that we can to rest and sleep and nourish and us time, period. And people that are really lost in the matrix and like mentally ill because of their lostness in the matrix are not going to get it. And if you have people in your life that you've discarded, they will have their flying monkeys trying to make you feel bad and guilty to try to stop you from caregiving to yourself. Even the narcissist in your life that you've not discarded will try to do that. It will be less if you haven't discarded them. And ideally, when it's a person that you're not discarding, you're not getting rid of, you're working and loving them you're working with them and loving them and keeping them. Your intention is to keep them, but to keep at your best, then you're gonna have a really much better go at it with the caregiving things that you're gonna do than I did at that point, right? Because I had discarded. I had gotten rid of shit. I didn't want shit around no more. I was tired of that shit. So, at that point, I had dealt with the situation and done various things that allowed me to see parts of that person that made me fall completely out of love with them and just be basically completely disgusted with who they were as the content of their character. It ruined it. I couldn't keep them around at that point. So, thank goodness that I had been doing that, because I was able to deal with a nightmare situation. There's certainly worse situations people have dealt with than that. But that was pretty dang near horrible for me, and the worst thing I've ever had to deal with. Like, people are nuts, completely crazy, and like backstabbing insanity of what the actual oh my god. Yeah, that's not, nobody should have to deal with that level of craziness. So, you're keeping your narcissist, you're not discarding them. So that situation that I personally dealt with is not going to apply to you. forgot. But, oh man, jeez, that's really interesting. Big, giant, like, okay, never mind, I'm not going to try to describe it. So you're going to get a lot more benefit from it. It's going to be great. You're going to be a lot better caregiver for your narcissist when you're filling your own cup. You got to fill your own cup. And you never expect them to fill your cup. You take what they got to give when they got to give it, and you cherish that shit, and you milk it. And then all the other rest of the times, you be totally happy with filling your own cup. You're never allowed to have a tantrum about it, period, ever. And really, honestly, you don't need to, because we do the best for ourselves. Like, we know what hits our spot better than anyone else, and nobody else can get it right like we do anyways. So what's a better scenario than, like, us doing it for ourselves? There is no better scenario. Like, no one knows what I need better than me. And so I love giving it to myself. I think it's fantastic. I did have to, however, not necessarily tell my narcissist that I was doing it, because they would try to sabotage me from being able to do it. But I also didn't want to be rude and not tell them, period, at all. So what I would do is I'd tell them after I'd left that I was doing it, and then I'd ignore my phone. I'd put their messages on silent, and I would force myself to not read them, because if I read them, then I was going to get, like, manipulated by whatever they said. So, my lawnmower broke down. The person happened to have a landscaping business. Like, my worker, this and that, or my show. I don't remember. There was some drama, right, that I had to supposedly get involved with if I had looked at my messages, and then I might have been tempted to had I looked at my messages. But I would just be really strict to pretend I couldn't see my messages. I was out of cell range, so that's another benefit of going into nature for your breaks, because then you can pretend you don't have cell service, which you may or may not, because sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. You're not deceiving them or out of being malicious because you're doing anything bad. You're doing it because you have to, because they're nutty and they'll whatever, and so it's almost like playing their tactics on them. They play on you, like, say, when they're cheating on you or whatever. Except for you're not cheating on them, you're just going to sleep. But you just appease them and, like, no, honey, baby, cutie, I'm just sleeping. I was just sleeping. And I was in nature and I didn't get your messages. And so then you come back, say, from said break adventure, and they might be doing things to, like, punish you for whatever it was that you did that they didn't like, leave and have a break. I mean, not get back a hold of them, not respond to their text messages, etc. Now, again, this is not with a violent narcissist. Like, some of their ass is fucking nuts. They don't need to be kept around. Like, you're violent, you're throwing things at your, ding me or hitting me and yelling, or maybe you are hitting me, etc. Like, no, that's not, you don't keep that shit around, guys. Talking about the non-violent ones, which yelling feels like violence, and is. But for the ones that are, like, just mental but not violent, okay? You just be super sweet and reassuring. You're just sleeping, and now you feel so much better, and thank you so much for letting me have that time for myself, because now I'm ready and on point, ready to, be here for you in any way you need, etc. And that should usually diffuse any animosity and whatever. And then you show them that you're extra and more attentive to their needs, because you truly are and can be. And you just ignore the tactics that they use to punish you. And you just like recognize what they are, because you've looked into it and studied it up. And then you almost think like it's a cute, silly thing. Like, oh, I know what you're doing. You're trying to punish me for taking a break, because you don't really think I was taking a break. You think I was off doing stuff I shouldn't be doing, but I wasn't. I was just taking a break so I could be at my best for you. And you, maybe if it was appropriate and sweet, you could just say that to them even in a very light way. And make light of whatever, while being extremely sweet and sensitive. To not triggering anything and not getting defensive yourself. Fighting fire with fire never works. And the whole point of you going to take a break is so that it's actually restful. And like, if they want to discuss it and are insisting on it, then you just do. But you stay calm and sweet and loving and sweetness, cutie. I'm just here to pleasure you and give you everything you want. And I'm so much better at doing that now because you allowed me to have that break. I appreciate you so much. You're the best for allowing me to have that break. You're the cutest, sweetest, bestest. I could never be more blessed than having you, because you allow me to go do these things so that I can be at my best, be at my best for you. In particular, my favoriteest thing, you. And like, that's actually true. Like, you're not just saying that to appease them and to get them to chill. It's actually true. Like, I fucking love you and I want to be at my best for you, and I went and did this thing so that I can be at my best for you. Sometimes you might be with somebody that's way too possessive and just can't. You can't leave and go do those things. Well, then you find all the rest opportunities when they're at work, when they're distracted with their own thing, etc. And that's fine too. Be fine with it, because what ends up making us even more exhausted is when we complain about not being fine with it. Like, you have to actually truly be fine with it. You have to actually truly be like, I'm actually choosing this. Like, I'm choosing this. I'm not going to complain about what I'm choosing. Nobody's making me choose this. I don't get to complain about it. And if this is the only opportunity I have to rest, and the rest of my time is dedicated to them, then that's what I'm choosing. And I love choosing you. They're your baby. They are literally your baby, and you love your baby. So that's that. Take care of yourself. Give for yourself.